We have been here before, and as you all know, this has been a lengthy process to get to where we are right now. This township has seen the wisdom of passing a couple of zoning ordinances that allowed us to come forward with the proposal that we have this evening. And one of those was your GRO ordinance, another one the GMU ordinance, and the coordination of those two things was worked on not only by the township, but also by the county, by the developers, by our planners, etc., to get to the point where we are. Most of you were here through that entire process, and you know that one of the things that was done at the time, the initial time, was there was an impact study done, a financial study that was done with respect to how this project would affect not only the municipality, but also the school district. And I believe, though I didn't come here tonight with all the documentation of years ago or many months ago, I believe that we showed to the township at that time that there was a net gain on an annual basis to the school district of about $2.8 million. Ken Breyer, am I right on that number? That was a net number to the school district. That included what it would cost the school district with respect to the expenses of the children that would go to school, and subtracting that from a gross figure of tax revenues, what would be left, and that number that would be left was the $2.8 million figure. That was something that I believe everybody here took very seriously. I know we did, I'm sure you did as well, with respect to the presentation. It was on that basis when you were assured that those were the kind of things that were going to happen as a result to your township, that you took the legislative steps that you did with respect to the enactment of the legislation to which I previously referred. That being the case, one of the components to that information was the discussion of school children and how many school children would come from a community development such as the one that is proposed. Now, I'm not an expert in putting together trip generation. I'm certainly not an expert in putting together the number of children that come out of a development, but we hired land planners who were. And one of them was Mr. Dennis Glacken, who's a well-renowned land planner in that area, and Dennis put together the numbers. You'll recall what those numbers were as far as, or what the range of those numbers were in terms of school children. And Ken, do you remember approximately how many children were coming from the development?
58 from Glacken.
58 was Glacken's number with respect to the development of public school age children that would come into the community, and our numbers, of course, were given to you. You didn't accept our numbers verbatim and just say, that's the way it is. Those numbers were verified, and they had to be verified, and they were verified by the Montgomery County Planning Commission. Can you remember exactly? I'm sorry, everybody knows Ken Breyer in the room. Ken is one of the principals.
No, they don't. I'm the quiet one. I'm behind the easels here.
And
same number.
Ken, when were those numbers verified by the county?
Last month.
Last month. And so we have all of those numbers have been verified by Montgomery County Planning Commission. I say that tonight, and I don't come here with all of that data and all that information, but we will provide it. And as you probably saw, I did ask to have a word with the school district's business manager, and I did tell him I appreciate him being here this evening, and we certainly don't mind being checked with respect to any representations that we've made to the board and the things that we've suggested to you as we've gone through. And we do understand the validity of their concerns with respect to these issues. And I gave him my contact information, asked him to send me his, and suggested to him that I would provide him with any information, and I will certainly provide him with the documentation that we received from Montgomery County with respect to that, and also with the Glacken report, so that everybody's on the same page with respect to the type of the development. I don't want to belabor this matter with respect to the school-age children. It's very important, but I didn't come here with the data tonight, so I'm really not going to get into that too much. Just wanted to mention a couple of things. The Glacken study, the county's agreement, the $2.8 million net. When you do these studies, you have to be very specific as to what type of developments, and I could tell by some of the questions that came from the board members, you've been through this before, what type of development you're using as your comparison. One of the issues that was mentioned was a Rolling Hills development. That's a Section 8 housing project for the most part. And that project, in order to get in there, one of the criteria, of course, is income eligibility. One of the indicia of that is school-age children and the like. And so you're going to have a disproportionately high number of school-age kids that are coming from a community such as that, as opposed to the type of housing we're building. That's really all I'm going to say about that, because when you see the study that Mr. Glacken has done, he'll get into those and the actual numbers. My recollection of some of these numbers is you get about 0.9 kids to 1.0 kids from a detached single-family dwelling, and that number goes down with respect to townhouses to about 0.21%. Is that 0.21 per unit? So it's about a 5-to-1 ratio in terms of what you're getting, which is the difference in the type of experience that was articulated by the business manager when he was comparing some of the developments that you may hear from. And of course, apartments are dramatically less than the townhouses, which is the lion's share of the development that we're speaking of here. So that being the case, we're building the type of housing that would not generate the numbers of children that some of the other developments that have been referenced here tonight would generate. And unless there are any particular questions for me, which I'll answer by providing information in the future, that's about really all I came to say with respect to the school-age children issue and the economics of the development this evening, unless the board has any questions in that regard. That being the case, I did promise Ed Wagner early that I would be as brief as I possibly could tonight. With respect to our presentation, Ed had been good enough to send me an email several days ago listing 10 individual topics that the board may have concerns with regard to. I wanted to bring information to address each of those issues, and first wanted to discuss the issue of a new parcel as part of our project. It's one that's already been appropriately zoned. It's known as the Fleck parcel. When our engineer, there was a change in engineering, and they were relying upon data that had been previously provided to the engineers as that happens. Our engineer determined that rather than the 7.51 acres that was with respect to one of our parcels, that the property actually was 6.2 acres. And we've engaged a professional land surveyor to perform a new survey with respect to that. But more than that, our clients have purchased an additional property, which they call Parcel D, at 243 Evergreen Road, again keeping the same configuration, all of the things that were provided. This will make each of the dimensional requirements that we've articulated in the past actually be more compliant and actually create a better scenario, because on a net basis, while we thought we were a little more than an acre short, we have now added 4.8 developable acres to the project, again keeping the same project, the same dimensions and everything else, just the addition of this particular piece. And we've added that, so that has been added to the property. And I'm going to ask Mike Engel, if you will, Mike, can you show us on one of the plans exactly where that property is located?
I'll use an aerial. My name is Mike Engel. I'm with H&K Group, and I did the engineering on the job. So this is an aerial of the site, and 422 is here, Evergreen Road is here, Linfield Road is here. The site is outlined in pink
Here's Sanatoga Center. The Fleck property is situated right here.
So that has been added to the rest of it. So now we have not 3 parcels, but 4 parcels.
And it went from 50 acres to 55 acres, rough numbers.
So I'm correct that none of our other numbers have expanded. We're just better off dimensionally with
Correct.
respect to each of the criteria. Is that correct?
Correct. We did not add any units or any square footage to the commercial section.
So the parcel you added is right adjacent to the Sanatoga Center there?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so originally that wasn't part of your parcel?
That's correct.
What are the plans for that piece? What are your plans for that piece?
We don't have any plans right now. We're just using the acreage to buffer our developable area calculations.
Are there any plans in the future?
I don't have any plans.
Yeah, we don't at this point, obviously, if sometime down the road in the foreseeable future or in the distant future, somebody wanted to make some use of that, they would have to do so, but they'd have to conform with the dimensional restrictions because it's being used in those calculations. Okay?
And that property is in, can't see, is Evergreen Road there, you say?
Yes, sir.
You should have these. They're in the smaller package.
You're stepping over property.
About 7 pages. This wasn't,
Yeah, that's what I was.
It's called the Fleck property. I don't know what that means.
and it is a home.
That's what I was.
Yeah, Mr. Flack.
Okay.